So here's where it gets tricky. Most of the people who are going to want to get into the Vine program will be people who are somewhat low income. If you're earning a healthy amount of income that you're somewhat comfortable, you're not going to want to be on the Vine program. You're going to want to be able to select items that are the ideal fit for you, rather than taking a chance on items that have no reviews yet, and they could be great or they could be crap. When I receive items in the Vine program, even well-known brand name items, sometimes they are really awful. And I'm leaving 1-star reviews, and sometimes the company even takes them off the market. We're kind of like the final little focus group that the company uses. So we're helping to protect you guys from awful products, but I still, kind of suffer the inconvenience of that, because I'm like, great, here's an item that's going to work great for me, and then it doesn't, and then I still have to write a review, and I can't return the item, so then I have to figure out what am I going to do with this thing that's crappy. So if you're earning a healthy income, it's not really going to interest you. So most people on the Vine program, a lot of them are on some kind of benefits. If you are in the US, then the estimated value of the items that you receive on Vine count as income. You're not receiving any money, you're just receiving products, but the IRS deems those products as money, as income. Now, this has a lot of implications because, for one thing, the contract has some very specific phrasing about selling or giving the item away. I don't think I am allowed to repeat exactly what it says, but suffice it to say, if you are doing things correctly in the manner that the program is intended, then you will not be able to earn a whole lot of money selling the items that you receive. I mention that because some people are going to be like, that's okay, I'll just sell all the items that I get. And no, you'll get kicked out of the program. So the items count as income. Selling them isn't really a thing. And you have to pay taxes on it as if it was self-employment. So you receive a 1099 from Amazon saying, we paid this person this amount of money this year as a contract worker. But it wasn't money, it was products. And the IRS looks at that amount and says, okay, well, then you owe X amount in taxes. Of course, the IRS isn't going to take products as taxes. The IRS wants money. Now, we're talking really high amounts here. The first 2 months in the Vine program, I earned more in estimated value than I have earned in an entire year ever, my highest paying year working a full-time job. 2 months. So if I did things the standard way, if I just, it's complicated, we're going to dive into it, okay? The amount that I've received, if we just count that as income, if it was income, it would kick me off of all benefits instantly, just like that. And there are a lot of people who are on Vine and are also on benefits here in the US. Things are different in the UK and Canada, but here in the US, and they have to be really careful about the items that they receive because they don't want to get kicked off of benefits and because they can't afford to pay the taxes, which is bizarre. Not being able to afford to pay taxes, needing to get a second job in order to pay taxes, that shouldn't even be a thing. So, one of the first things I did when I found out that this might affect my benefits is I started making phone calls. I called up the WIC place and I explained the situation. But they were like, you're not receiving money, and if you still qualify for food stamps, for SNAP EBT is the official term for it, then you still qualify for WIC and we don't care. Like, don't tell us about this, we don't care about it. So I was like, okay. So my next phone call was to DSHS, and I explained the situation. And they said, well, you're not receiving money, and so we don't care about it. They're basically just like, why are you even telling me this? And I even told them my current like earned amount, and they were just like, yeah, the amount of estimated value doesn't matter because it's not income, you're not getting money. And I was like, okay, cool. I asked them to make sure, and I did this with WIC as well. I said, please put it in my notes, make sure that it's documented that I told you about this, because I don't want to get in trouble if someone else thinks differently. Anytime I'm on the phone with them for any reason whatsoever, I double check. I say, could you tell me if this is in my notes? I update them on the current estimated value that I'm up to, because they're high numbers. Each time I'm asking, you're saying that this is still okay. I'm clarifying this with you. I want to make sure that everything is documented, because I am really worried that I will get in trouble for this. And they keep saying, it's not money, it's not income. Why are you even, telling me about this? And the reason is because it will show up on my tax information as income. The next phone call was to the Washington State Healthcare Authority, because I am on Medicaid, and I explained the situation. They actually transferred me to a supervisor. They asked me a ton of questions. They thought I was getting commissions somehow, and I'm just like, no, there's no circumstance whatsoever that I receive money for these reviews. So eventually, after asking me all the questions, they were like, okay, well, you're essentially running a business in the negative. You receive an item, but you have to use the item for business purposes. So the item is a necessary business expense, and you're not receiving any profit from it, so it cancels out the value that you receive from it. And so I was like, great, and I made sure they documented it all. So I was like, fantastic. All 3 of the benefits that I receive currently are saying that they don't care about this. And I was just like over the moon. I was like, yay, I can do all the things. So WIC, they have a recertification interview that's after 1 year. So when your baby is 1 year old, then they call and they want all the information all over again, like how much you're earning and everything. So I mentioned, hey, I'm receiving these products, blah, blah, blah. And this time the person interviewing me got really interested in that. And she wanted to know the estimated value. And I was like, well, what's officially on record is brand new products, but I have to use these products. And so that's not an accurate reflection of the value. So then she wanted to know my estimation of the value that I have. And I'm like, garage sale value? I don't know. And she was really insistent about counting this as income. And she only stopped when I said, I've been to the IRS office multiple times. I plan to deduct all of this as necessary business expenses, so that would cancel it all out. And at that point, she just said, you know what, this is taking up too much of my time already. We'll just move on. So I wanted to mention that because different people will say different things. There is some manner of personal judgment call involved in it, and it does kind of depend on the person that you get who is reviewing your case. I just need to breathe for a second. It's a really stressful topic. It's a really stressful thing to get into. How do I afford to pay taxes on this? So every tax person that I spoke with, and I spoke with, I think 8 different tax people, they all wanted to play it safe. They all said this is a highly unusual situation. They'd never heard of it before, but because I wasn't purchasing the items with money, then the items could not be counted as a business expense. One even advised me, if you want to deduct this as a business expense, she said, use the item only as much as is necessary for a review, write the review, and then put the item in a designated place for these items, and don't use it for a year. And I was like, but see, I need to use it. That's the weird thing with this. personal use of the items is business use. All right? Because using it personally in my life is what informs the reviews. And especially long term, that's the most helpful reviews. So if I've been using an item for a year and I'm like, hey, it's held up for an entire year of me using this daily, that's way more helpful of a review as compared to like, yeah, I used it for a few days and it was great. But basically, all of the tax people that I consulted with said, yeah, you're going to have to pay full taxes on these. You can only deduct things like the square footage of your house that you used with it. And that's pretty much it. So I went to the IRS website itself and I started reading up because supposedly my income is increasing, but I don't have any more money than I did before to be able to pay for healthcare or to be able to pay for food. So, or to be able to pay taxes for that matter. So ultimately, I said, you know what? I'm going to get it straight from the horse's mouth. I am going to go to the IRS. I called up the IRS to make an appointment, and I went into my local IRS building. I had all of my documents all prepared, and I was just ready to get to the bottom of this. The tax person told me, you can count depreciation of the items. That was really the lifeline that she put out to me. And so I was like, great, fantastic. I was really hopeful. I came home and I looked at the documents that she pointed me towards. And you had to purchase an item in order for it to be eligible for depreciation. And I was just like, wait a minute, she advised me wrong. I need to go back there. So I went back there and they actually got a supervisor to come over. And they literally told me, and I am not joking, this is the IRS. These are the people that are supposed to have the final say. And they said, this case is too complicated. We don't know how to advise you. Please don't come back because we don't know what to do in this situation. This is the IRS. The IRS themselves does not know how to advise me on my case. They said I need to call the business line. I have now called the business line over a dozen times, and it automatically hangs up on me because they're too busy. I'm really struggling to stay focused here because it's just really emotionally fraught, but I'm doing my best. So I realized that I gathered all the information that was available to me to gather about this subject, and I was like, okay, I can either make myself small by taking a step backwards, by not letting myself run free and get items that are helpful to us. I can do that. That's an option. But it didn't feel right to me because it's been such a blessing and it's been so good for my mental health that it felt like a step backwards. And it also felt like it's just not fair. It's not fair to anyone in the US who's on this program. I saw people that, in these groups that I joined that were having to be really careful about this because of the tax implications. And I was just like, my sense of justice was kind of woken up, and I was just like, this is not right. People who are already struggling for income have to be really careful about requesting high value items that they might need. I mean, it's things like a lawnmower or things like a mattress, okay? So I got a mattress that's supposedly worth $800. I can't sell that. So that's the value that supposedly it's like, I received $800. No, I didn't. That's bizarre. So to have to pay taxes on that as if it was income is just ridiculous to me. In the UK, they don't have to pay taxes on it. In Canada, they don't have to pay taxes on it. I was just like, someone has to challenge this. The IRS themselves said that they hadn't heard of any situation like this. And I think the reason is because everyone's playing it safe. Everyone's just treating it like income, paying the taxes on it, and it's basically like, keep your head down because you don't want to get audited. And I decided I'm going to stick my head up. I'm going to deduct everything as a business expense. And I'm gonna assume that I'm gonna get audited, and hopefully I'll finally get some answers from the auditor. I'm documenting everything, which is a lot of work. It involves printing out all my reviews. I'm documenting what happens to each item because the auditor is going to look at, this is a lot of value that you're deducting. They're going to want that itemized. And I have it itemized as in like, these are all the items. But I think they're going to want to know what happened to it. And I'll be like, these disposable items got used up. This thing that didn't work or was just really crappy got donated. Or this item is still in use. And I am updating the review as needed, so it is still in business use. So, I don't know if it's gonna work. If the auditor decides, no, you cannot deduct these things, then I'm gonna owe a lot in taxes. I'm hoping that I will be able to avoid any penalty fees with all of my documentation of, this is how hard I tried to get a straight answer from you guys. These were my visits to the office. These were all the phone calls that I made to the business line as I was advised. Just really showing that I've done my due diligence here. The other thing is, one accountant was really helpful in that they mentioned, well, it seems like it's a barter system. And I looked it up, and there's a way to do a 1099 that shows that it's a barter system, and Amazon's not doing that. I'm not accusing them of anything, but that was really interesting to me, and I think that might be relevant when I get audited. So I don't know if it's gonna work out. We do have some savings that we could use to pay the taxes if we absolutely have to, which is why I felt like this is really my role. This is really what I'm meant to do right now, is to take a stand when other people are not able to risk this. And that feels scary, but it feels way better than trying to make myself small again. Hopefully I've helped by shedding some light on how it all works. Oh, if you have questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure I haven't covered everything, so it's always worth it to ask.